Hey everyone, welcome back to Mind Keys. So good to see you all. Hope you're doing well. So in today's video, we're going to be talking a little bit about feelings and why feelings come up when we're microdosing, why feelings come up when we're macrodosing, taking a full dose, what's going on in that process of these kind of sudden arising of kind of random feelings. It's a very common phenomenon. So I want to explain that a bit to you and give you at least one kind of framework or map of understanding to help you understand better why this happens when we take psychedelics. So let's go ahead and get into it. And really quick, before we go ahead and dive into the main topic here, I just want to say, first of all, a warm hello and welcome to you, especially if you're a new viewer to the channel. You've never seen me or any of my content before. Welcome to Mind Keys. My name is Dave. I'm a coach and a hypnotherapist and an NLP practitioner. I've been coaching about 7 years. I've been a psychonaut for about 30 years. And I've been working with people around this topic of psychedelics for the last couple years, more formally and directly. And on this channel here, we talk a lot about personal development and psychedelics and the intersection between the two, how we can use psychedelics to level up our own personal growth, our own self-healing process, our own awakening process, personal transformation, spiritual growth, you name it. If these topics interest you, this is the place to be, especially if you want to learn the how to do this. What are the processes? What are the mindsets? What are the approaches? So if that's you, then you're definitely in the right place, and I'm stoked to have you aboard for the conversation. Again, a warm welcome to you. Really happy to have you here. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the main content here and unpack this idea of emotions and how they play a role in this experience of taking psychedelics. Let's talk about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the main topic here. So have you ever had an experience, tell me if this sounds familiar to you, of maybe taking a microdose and you're just starting to kick in, you're going about your day, you're, doing whatever it is you do, going to work or, whatever it is. And you kind of get hit with a bit of an emotion. Something kind of comes up and all of a sudden you suddenly feel really emotional, like whether it's maybe sad or poignant or a little bit angry, or maybe the other way around. Maybe you have like a sudden burst of like joy or happiness or gratitude or, lightheartedness or something like this, right? Or another thing that happens is people will get a sudden desire to do something, like go for a bike ride or go for a walk or start painting, or get a sketch pad out and start drawing or something like that. In other words, we have these kind of sudden arising of emotion or impulse or drive, right? And if this has ever happened to you, you would certainly not be the first person. This is very normal, very common with psychedelics. And I want to give you one lens into understanding this. So let me just caveat this really quick and say that as a coach, as a thinker in the space, I'm a big fan of taking in multiple different perspectives and understandings on the human experience, on the mind, on what we are as spiritual beings, and also on psychedelic experiences. So I want to be clear with you that I'm not saying that what I'm about to share, the model that I'm about to share with you is the only way that we can view this or understand this, or that this is the only truth or the ultimate truth about what's happening. I don't want to be definitive in any way. This is just one lens, one window, one perspective into this kind of unique experience of taking psychedelics and being a human being. And it's really just a map or a model for you to understand yourself better as a tool. So if it works for you, use it. If it doesn't work for you, toss it away and try on another perspective. So I just want to say that as a caveat for all the work that I do. So with that being said, let me explain this a bit to you. So one way of understanding what's going on in these moments, and also I forgot to say, this also happens with macrodosing, with large doses, even more so. Sometimes we just get hit with these big waves of emotion out of nowhere. What is that? Why does that happen? One way of understanding it is that this is what's called a part kind of emerging to communicate. So I'm going to kind of reference what's called internal family systems, or IFS. Some of you will be familiar with it. Some of you have never heard of it. It's a therapy modality, and I got to be clear with you up front. I'm not an IFS practitioner. I'm not trained in IFS. I'm not a licensed therapist. I want to be upfront with you about that. But I am trained in neuro-linguistic programming, and in NLP, they teach us how to work with parts just like IFS. So the basic idea in IFS is that every single human being grows up, and as a product of growing up, we develop facets of our personality that are almost like subpersonalities called parts. Now, these subpersonalities have their own kind of needs. They're organized around different value sets. So they have different things that are important to them. They have different emotions stored in them. They have different skills and capabilities. So, for example, you might have a really tough, gritty, badass side to you. You might have a really tender, sensitive side to you. You might have a really funny aspect of your personality, then also a really like hardcore, dead serious side to you, or a really creative side to you, and then a really logical side to you. They don't always have to be opposites. I'm kind of giving that impression by the way I'm talking here. But the point is we have these multifaceted parts that comprise our personality that are kind of like sub-personalities. Now, a lot of times parts are formed by moments in life where we're kind of put under pressure and there was a challenge where we had to adapt and evolve a new way of being in order to get through that challenge. So the unconscious mind will kind of organize itself in a new way, in a new formation of structure of personality that becomes a part. And a lot of times connected to these parts are beliefs and unresolved emotions and feelings. And when we take a psychedelic, one way of looking at it is that what it does is it kind of stimulates kind of the deep self-healing aspect of ourselves, the whole, complete, integrated, unbroken, can't be harmed, deep, beautiful core of what it is to be a human being. And as we stimulate that, it kind of pushes up parts more to the surface of our conscious mind as emotion, as feeling. And sometimes these parts come up to communicate, and it might be a very young part of you that has a stored emotion, like maybe a little bit of fear or anxiety or overwhelm or stress. It might be in a very adult part of you that's coming up to like reassure you and lead you or become rational in a moment where maybe you're kind of like overwhelmed and overloaded. It might be a silly part coming up to like help you lighten up and laugh or whatever it is. And so we'll kind of get these emotions that kind of emerge out. And generally speaking, there's some sort of acknowledgement, at very least, that we want to do with these emotions. So we want to meet them with respectful, curious, loving attention. And so that's a good place to start. So what do you do when a part comes up? Meet it with curiosity, meet it with love, listen to it, pay attention to it, feel what it's trying to communicate to you. Sometimes that's just in the language of feelings. You'll just have like a big wave of sadness or a big wave of giggles or whatever come up. And so you just want to feel it and listen to it and understand if there's an unresolved narrative or storyline, something you haven't thought about in a while that you never really totally settled in your consciousness properly. You want to think about if there is a need there that you're not meeting, that this part is trying to draw your attention to. You want to notice if there is some value system that's important to the part that you want to honor or respect or connect to, or if there's some other, communication, right? Basically. And so this is the first place to start. When an emotion arises like that, it's often some unintegrated, piece of something that the part's trying to bring to our attention to bring us back into harmony or back into balance or back into peace. So again, this is not the only way of understanding this, but this is certainly, I think, a very useful window into what's going on in these moments. And so the first thing we can do is just realize that while we do have parts to our personality, we are still one whole being. And our job is to meet all the different parts of ourselves with loving respect and loving kindness and connectivity. So in other words, we don't want to shame a part. We don't want to repress a part because it's literally coming out from being repressed. We don't want to ignore it. We don't want to invalidate it because what is that part? That part is a part of you. So when you're shaming or ignoring or invalidating or repressing yourself, you're going to feel that, right? So what you want to do is instead welcome it. Meet it with love, meet it with respect, listen to it, connect to it, find out what is going on there. And generally speaking, when we do that, when we bring the light of our attention to the part, we feel it, we meet it with good grace, we connect to it, we respect it, the energy will go from whatever kind of charge it has to a much softer form of that energy. And a lot of times, if there's sadness or anger or frustration or fear or something like that, it'll release, the tension will release. And what will kind of show up instead is like a communication or just a sense of gratitude or a sense of self-love or a sense of self-respect. So anytime this comes up, just know that it's a part of you trying to communicate. That's really the only message I want to leave you with for this video. I'll do more videos about IFS and NLP approaches to IFS and parts work and how to really work it, because it can be tricky and nuanced. But basically, first thing to know is, oh, there's a part of me communicating and I should listen to it. I should feel with it. I should connect to it and honor it rather than ignore it, suppress it, fight it. So that's really all I want to leave you with for now. So I hope that's useful. I hope that helps. So now you know why you might be experiencing these kind of sudden surges of emotions as you take psychedelics. So anyways, with that being said, have a wonderful couple days. I'll have more videos out for you this week. Thank you for watching. And if you like, the content, you like either my articulation of it, you like my vibe, you like the channel, you like my approach, please consider giving a thumbs up to the video to tell the algorithm to spread it wide and far, or leave a comment down below if something really was like an aha moment or touched you. And if you're really into this kind of content, if this is really like speaking your language, then consider subscribing, joining the community here. And with all that being said, thanks for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day, beautiful night, wherever you are, and I will see you soon. Take care.